Hey guys, Caitlin Compass here. Today, I want to show you how to make more money by focusing on the fundamentals in life so that you can understand how they're affecting you and what you can do about it. If you don't know who I am, I'm Caitlin Compass. I'm a published author and coach, and I focus mainly on the fundamental areas in order to help people make more money, have better relationships, live at a higher level, and ultimately really be the person that they're proud of and who they could be. So here's the deal. Most people focus on skills. Now, whether that's increasing computer skills, accounting skills, in your business, maybe you're focusing on SEO optimization, maybe you're focusing on sales skills, exactly what to say, when to say it, blah, blah, blah. I see this stuff on social media all the time. And everybody thinks, oh, I need to learn this or I need to focus on this. The truth is, most people, if they'll focus on the fundamentals, in fact, can change their life in a far larger way. And that's why you see people like Andy Elliott who goes in and yeah, the dude's an excellent sales trainer. But you know what he has that's better than that? Infectious energy, man. Infectious energy. And there's a reason that people like Tony Robbins who have spent their life focusing on the fundamentals, there's a reason that they're so successful. There's a reason that Jim Rohn was the same way. There's a reason that Zig Ziglar, Napoleon Hill, all of these people are saying the same thing. So that's what prompted me to write my book, because I spent years going down this rabbit hole trying to unravel the different layers and trying to understand, how do I apply this stuff to my life? How do I really get it internalized? So today, what I really want to talk about is increasing your energy and how that affects your story, your beliefs, and your state. So your state is how you show up on a moment by moment basis. Here's the thing. You can have a low energy state or you can have a high energy state. And the difference, dude, the difference is profound. So imagine you're somebody who's in sales. How do you think you're going to, what's the response you think you're going to get if you're like, oh, hey man, my name's Kaylin, how can I help you today? Versus showing up and be like, hey man, my name's Kaylin. What's the difference? You have an infectious energy. You want to serve. You're there. You're present. You're hungry. You're ready. There's a big difference in how you show up, and your state affects the story that you're going to tell, and it's predominantly going to also dictate the beliefs that you're operating off of on a moment by moment basis. So one of the things that I talk about in my book is mastering your body. It's also why I have my program, Iconic American Physique, because if you're operating from a low energy state, how likely do you think it is that you're going to make a lot of money? How likely do you think it is that you're going to have positive relationships? How likely do you think it is that you're going to be resourceful? Right? Like, have you ever tried to sit down and solve a problem in a low energy state? Maybe a math problem, maybe a problem with your business, maybe a problem with your relationship, and you just don't have the energy, and you're telling yourself all these negative things like, this is never going to work, I'm not good enough, I'm unworthy. What do you come up with? Well, your brain is basically, it just searches for answers, and it will find all the reasons. Of course you're unworthy. Of course you're never going to do it. Of course you can't catch a break. And a low energy state, fundamentally, is really just a victimhood mindset. It's a victimhood state. And so you have to get out of a lower energy state into a higher energy state so you can become more resourceful, more influential, more persuasive. And that's how I predominantly approach these things. Because most people are looking over here on the skills spectrum. And they're like, oh, well, I need these flashcards to know what to say. And I'm not saying that you don't need that. I need to figure out how I can get more leads, or I need to figure out how I can do this task better. But most people are focusing on low energy things. Like, they're not even focusing on the thing that's going to move the dial or the needle in the relationship, in the business, in whatever domain you're trying to conquer right now. That's what I found with myself. I'm not speaking here out of, just throwing stuff against the wall. Guys, I've been a victim to this my whole life. It took me 30 years until I really sat down and had a conversation with myself and was like, okay, I've been focusing for the last decade from 20 to 30 on skills, but I missed the fundamentals. I missed how I was showing up. I missed getting the meta skills that would allow me to have a degree of mastery so that I could quickly surpass all the little skills things. Because those are just easy, man. Those are just something that you can learn. Like you can learn how to shake somebody's hand better. You can learn how to, how to close somebody better. You can learn how to, optimize SEO or post better videos or whatever it may be. And yeah, my videos are low production right now, and that's okay. I'm at a learning stage. I'm nascent here, guys. Like I'm just starting off. It's gonna get better, and it's gonna get better because I'm operating up here off a high energy state, and I know that there's a formula that oftentimes it takes volume, it takes repetition, and then it takes feedback on that volume to iterate over and over and over again. So I'll get better over time. But let me just ask you a question. And this is what stops so many people. What if you sat down to play a video game and you were like, oh no, I can't play this video game because I'm not good enough yet. So I'll wait till I'm good enough so that I can play the video game. You would say, well, that's not very smart, right? Because you got to play the game in order to get better at the game so that you can dominate. And that's exactly how it is with all pursuits of your life. You have to do things over and over and over again, but you have to learn from them. And that's what all of this is about, because in a low energy state, you don't learn very much. In a higher energy state, guys, you can take more criticism. You can take more feedback. You're like, okay, man, I got it, but I'm excited. Give me the feedback. Let me implement. Let me go faster. And that's the power of learning to control your state. Your state is going to transform your life so much if you will take care of your body, get the right nutrition, do the things that you need to so that every single day you're showing up powerfully. That's the difference. That's why the people who have mastered their state, that have mastered being able to show up on cue, that's why they can do the things that they do. And it allows them to be influential. It allows them to be persuasive. It allows them to be resourceful at a level nobody operating off of a low energy state ever could, because you can't have those things down here. But if you're in a high energy state, dude, you're automatically influential. People want to be around you. People are attracted to that. Some people talk about this as frequency. You know, you're at a higher frequency and you're at a lower frequency. It doesn't matter what you call it. What matters is the byproducts that you get here off of controlling this will determine how you show up at your skill level down here. So many people, they start focusing on higher level things when in fact they might need to come back to the fundamentals, and that will change everything. So tying this in, your state determines the story that you tell. The story is the ongoing conversation you're having in your head with yourself at all times. So you're telling this story, and of course, if you're in a low energy state, well, you're telling a negative story most times. Most times you're like, oh, I'm never going to do this, or, I can't grow my business, or, nobody's ever going to love me. I'm just unworthy of all of these things. That's what happens. So you spin into this negative story line and you start catastrophizing, right? That's a cognitive distortion. You start catastrophizing, everything's going wrong. And of course, then that leads to more things going wrong, because all you're seeing through your lens is all the negative, and you're deleting. Your brain distorts, deletes, and generalizes. You're deleting all the good things. You're not seeing them. But in a high energy state, have you ever been in one of those moods, where you're just in such a good mood? You notice the flowers, you notice the bees, you notice the trees, you notice what people are wearing. You have that pep in your step. Dude, that's the difference. And in that state, you're like, dude, nobody can knock me off my horse today. It doesn't matter what happens. The barista at the coffee shop can spill your coffee all over you, make it wrong, and you're like, whatever, I'm in a good mood. I'm making life happen for me today. You know what? This was providence. I spilled this coffee. Now I got to go home. I got to give my wife or girlfriend or whoever another kiss. Wow, that's just really terrible. And it can't even put you in a bad mood because you're controlling your state, which is controlling your story. And that's also controlling the beliefs that you're operating off of. And the beliefs that you operate from dictate your destiny, because your beliefs dictate your thoughts and actions, which dictates the results that you get. By definition, whatever actions you get, your results. And then oftentimes those beliefs reinforce the underlying beliefs. So when you start by controlling your state, you start operating off of powerful belief systems. Hey, you can do this versus you can't do it. You will find a way versus it'll never happen. There is a possibility. And so by operating there, you then start operating from empowered beliefs, which then lead to more resourceful actions. Those more resourceful actions lead to better results. And when you're in a high energy state, a high frequency state, you notice those things. You don't delete them. So you have all this positivity and reinforcement coming into your life where you're like, hey, I have stuck to my habits. I have kept my word. I am having integrity with myself. I am kicking ass at life. And then you start to believe all of those things, and then you actually start kicking ass at life. And that's kind of how that goes. So guys, just talking today, if you're focusing on this side of the equation all the time, if you're focusing on skills and just memorizing the cards, I'm not saying you shouldn't, because you can't over-focus over here, but there's a balance. And if you're not controlling the fundamentals of your life, if you're not controlling how you're showing up, if you're not controlling the story, the conversation in your head, if you're not controlling the beliefs that you're operating from, you're leaving so many things on the table. I promise you, you'll get crumbs over here if you don't control for this first. Because you can say all the right things, but if you don't have conviction, if you don't have certainty, most times in a sales situation, the person who is most certain wins. And if you don't have those things because you're not showing up powerfully in a high energy state, why would anybody ever believe you? Why would somebody want to buy you? Hey man, you want to buy my thing? Hey, you want to go out with me on a date? Maybe these things will work out. Oh, hey Barbara, can you print those documents off? How is that showing up as a leader? It's not. And if you want to show up as a leader, if you want to show up powerfully, then the first and foremost thing is to control this. Now, there's multiple ways to do that. I don't want to get into it in this training today, but sometimes it just takes listening to something motivational in your car. Maybe it takes listening to music. Maybe it takes having a conversation with yourself and setting a standard. And you set an alarm on your phone. I have an alarm on my phone right now because I've started my mini workout program where I just do mini workouts every 90 minutes, every 2 hours. I've got my alarm set every 2 hours right now. And I drop down, I do 30 push-ups, 50 air squats, and then I'll do some third group, larger muscle groups, typically always legs, chest or back, etc. And I have an alarm set to do that. Now I don't have to keep that alarm forever, but I'm in the initial phase of it, so I'm learning it. If you have to set an alarm every 30 minutes, every hour, set an alarm so that it goes off and you're like, boom, did I show up powerfully for the last hour? Okay, cool, I didn't do it. Next hour, here we go. And maybe you don't feel like it. Maybe you don't have the energy. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares. All they care about is they're like, dude, go to Starbucks, go to a coffee shop, do something. Take care of your body. Stop putting trash in your body. Start showing up as the leader that you know you could be. And that's what people want. They want you to do that. And I want that for you. That's how I always want to show up. I always want to be ready. I want to be an inspiration to people. I want admiration. I want respect. I want to respect me. And that's what I'm going for. And I respect me more when I'm operating from this high energy state. I respect me more when I know that I'm living up to my potential, when I know that I'm not leaving crumbs on the table, when I know that I'm doing the things that I feel like I need to do, not that other people tell you to do. There's so many people online right now. They'll be like, you have to do this. You got to do, a 3-hour morning routine. You've got to do all of this stuff. Doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is what matters to you. And you can't get clear on your values in a low energy state. You got to get in a high energy state to get clear on your values. That's what makes a difference, guys. That is the difference between people who are ultra successful and people who are impoverished. truthfully. And how you decide to operate here, that's totally up to you. I'm not on all the time. I'm not on, like I'm just on some of the time. But that's okay. I've designed my life so that when I need to be on, I'm on. Because I know that there's some people, they'll give the perception that they're always on. They never miss something. They never make a mistake. I know they're perfect. That's great. Guys, that's not me. I fuck up all the time. I do all sorts of stuff. But I figured out the things that matter to me, and I make very few commitments so that when I make commitments, I can keep those commitments and I can follow through. And that's how I've designed my life. Those are my values. I optimize for freedom. I optimize for time. Dude, I have a great life. I live outside of Boise in Idaho. I was just up in the mountains a few days ago. Dude, it's insane. But my life didn't change when I was focusing on all of this. My life changed when I came over here and I started focusing on these things. I didn't have the direction. I didn't have anybody show me how to get results in life. I didn't have anybody show me how to be the man that I'm proud of. I didn't have anybody, to really guide me in some of these more fundamental things. And as it turns out, I spent, the first, really my 20s, that decade, focusing on things which you can't ignore. You got to have skills. But ultimately, it's your beliefs and state, those will dictate your character or your standards, your integrity, your congruence with self. And then those will dictate the skills that you have. And if you try to focus on skills, but you don't have the character, if you can't keep your commitments, if you don't have high standards, if you don't have personal integrity, you'll never get that. And you won't get the character without changing your state and your beliefs. So, guys, hope this helps. This is stuff that is close to my heart. It's changed my life, and I believe it can change yours too. Be great.